Hello, I'm Glenn.
And I'm Amy, and this is Bailey.
And this is our 2015 Nissan e-NV200 fully electric camper van. We bought this van second-hand in 2018 for £9,500, and then we converted it ourselves to a camper van. You know, I've always liked the freedom that a van gives you, and it's fantastic. You know, exploring around Europe, going to climbing destinations, sleeping in the van. You know, having like a base wherever you are. You know, it's a very nice experience. But I always had in the back of my mind when I was driving my diesel van around Europe is that it's burning fossil fuels, and it's just not sustainable to do long term. And I really wanted a way that we could have the same experience but do it in a lower carbon way. And that's what excites me about electric vehicles. Electric vehicles can be powered from renewable generation. The UK grid is about 50% renewable and getting more renewable all the time. So electric vans, they're only going to get cleaner as time goes on. So they give us a pathway to be able to travel and explore without burning fossil fuels in a totally zero carbon way, and I find that pretty exciting. So the first question was, is it going to be possible? Are we going to be able to travel around Europe, and enjoy the same freedom that we had in our old diesel van in this electric van? And so far we've had it for how many years now? Like three years. 3 years.
So the places we've been to, we've had 2 trips down to Spain, around the UK up to Scotland, and in 2019 we did a really big road trip to Hungary, going via France, Belgium, Germany, Austria, Italy, Slovenia, and then Hungary, stopping lots of crags along the way.
And obviously it takes us a little bit longer in an electric van because we have to stop to recharge it. It takes about 20 minutes to charge up. But it is possible. It's totally possible. And it's actually very economic. We managed to do a return trip to Spain for £150 of electricity, which is incredible. Our friends in their VW T4 camper van who were with us, I think it was T5 actually, they spent £500 on fuel. So it's actually a very economic way to travel, and it especially suits people who are willing to have a relaxed sort of attitude towards travelling.
Charging has actually taken us to some really, really lovely spots. So you can stay on the motorway, or also there's loads of chargers off the motorway. So if you want a bit more of a scenic stop, you can head off, plug in a village or town or somewhere and quite rural in the countryside, and you can have a lovely wander and discover some cool things along the way, and it really makes the journey feel part of the holiday, part of the adventure.
So just going to give you a quick tour of the van. Start off up front and work our way back. So the van's got a standard e-NV200 dashboard there. It shows us our range and what battery percentage we've got left. This is the Essentia model, which just came with a rather basic head unit, but I upgraded this unit to an Android Auto display, and it also shows us where charging points are and if they're available. The van didn't originally come with cruise control, but I fitted an aftermarket cruise control system. The van's got heated seats and a heated wheel, which sounds like an extravagant luxury, but actually, this guy, he loves the heated seat. Don't you, Biddy? But actually, it's actually a really good thing in an electric van because it uses a lot less energy than the main heater here.
So we added a aftermarket swivel seat to this front seat. We've got a little orange catch here. So pressing that starts it swiveling, bend the seat forward, and then can complete the swivel round, readjust the back, and then slide it back. Nice relaxed van area, non-driving area set up now. So if I get Bailey to move out the way, his seat is the driver's seat when we're parked up. We fitted a lagoon table stand here, which is great because it allows a really flexible table position in a really small space. If I sit back, I can bring it right close to me. So yeah, a great work spot over here.
So let's talk about range. So this van is an early 2015 model. It was basically the first electric van that was available. That's why we were able to buy it secondhand. And so it's got the smallest 24 kilowatt hour battery. That's the amount of energy this van is capable of storing. So that gives a range of approximately 70 miles in summer and about 50 to 60 miles in winter, depending on lots of things like, you know, how fast you drive, how many hills and that's you've got to, what sort of trade you're driving through. But this small 24 kilowatt hour battery, it's not been available since 2018. So the new version of this van has got a range of about 150 miles, and there's quite a few other electric vans now available, like the Vauxhall Vivaro E, which all have a range of over 200 miles. So it's improving all the time, just the energy density in the batteries. But even with so we've basically got the smallest range of any electric vehicle on the roads, really. But we've still been able to drive the van, you know, to Spain, to Slovenia and Hungary, go on these long trips. So what I'm saying is that the public charging network is, you know, just about okay at the moment, especially in the UK. You go anywhere in the UK, basically. But it's only going to improve as the range of the vehicles gets longer and the charging infrastructure improves as well, and also the charging speed.
So we've got our little kitchen set up here. We have a SMEV 8005 sink. So we've got running water from two 25 litre carriers there. We fitted a window on either side. Well, we both enjoy having the natural light inside. In the small van, it's really nice to keep it light and airy. Opens, helps with ventilation of cooking. Yeah, we've got a little cool box down here. So we've got a cutlery drawer here. It's a small IKEA tray, and we've got a couple of others down here for storage. We have all our crockery and cooking pots and pans there, and usually some maybe fresh food, bread and stuff, which doesn't need to go in the refrigerator, but we want out of reach of Bailey in case he fancies a snack. Having the boxes we find really handy because we can take them inside and, you know, pack them all up before we're going on the trip and then bring them out. Simple storage unit here. We've got some cubby holes for clothes, a really nice little shelf here. Good to be able to keep your tea or your glass of wine out the way of everything else going on. Oh yeah, we've got lights here. So I'll just switch them off.
So in a way, electric vans, they're kind of perfect for camper vans because they basically have the world's biggest leisure battery underneath the floor. You don't need to take up any space inside the van. So we've got so much power for cooking, using our induction cooktop or charging phones or laptops. But also it's got a built-in heating system and dehumidification, you know, AC, HVAC system that's built into the vehicle. So you don't need to add a diesel heater or anything. It's all just built in as standard, and you can run that all night to keep you warm and dry all your clothes.
Cool if you're somewhere hot.
Or cool if it's hot. Yeah. Old van didn't have any air conditioning, so this has been a game changer to have, like, you know, help to run the heat all night, dry all your clothes, no condensation at all.
Kind of the advantages to driving electric. Personally, I suppose I'm comparing it to quite an old diesel van. To drive, it feels really light and nippy. There's no clutch control starts, which I always found a little bit nerve-wracking, say, like on a steep, windy European switchback. Yeah, kind of hill starts are a thing of the past, really. Electric vans also have regenerative braking, which means as you come off the accelerator, without kind of putting your foot on the brake, the van will start to slow itself down and put that energy back into its main battery. Again, it's just a little bit less to do in terms of footwork on the pedals. It sounds really lazy, but it just makes the whole driving experience really smooth and easy. Another thing which I find quite nice, say if you're turning up to wherever you might be staying the night slightly late, electric vehicles are really quiet. So if you kind of cruise in, you want to maneuver a little bit to get into kind of a nice position so your doors are going to open onto whatever a good viewpoint in the morning. You feel like you're not disturbing anyone, so that's a nice thing.
So yeah, let's talk about the electrical systems in the van. So like I mentioned earlier, this van's got a really big battery under the floor of the van. For it's called the traction battery, which is 400 volts DC, which is used to drive the van forward. But we can also use that battery for powering things in the van. But obviously we don't want to be using 400 volts DC to power your phone. It's not going to go well. But the van does have a 12 volt system, just like every other van. So under the bonnet there's a standard 12 volt lead acid battery, and we can connect connect an inverter or all of the lights and everything. They're all running off the van's standard 12 volt battery. So whenever the van is switched on, as it is now, you can't hear it, it's totally silent. It's charging the 12 volt battery there's a DC to DC converter that takes power from the main battery at 400 volts DC and then converts it to 12 volts DC, and that's rated at around 1,700 kilowatts. Watts. So we can take 1.7 kilowatts out of the battery without depleting it. So we've got a 1,500 watt inverter that we use to power our induction hob, which is only actually 700 watts, but that's plenty for cooking really. You don't need to have a leisure battery, so it saves the space and weight. So let's go on inside, we'll take a look at how it works. So this is the induction hob here, and it's plugged into the inverter that's switched on. If we are plugged into a hookup for an extended period of time, I can simply just take the hob out of there and plug it into our hookup sockets, which are there. And that's the little hookup consumer unit, which is connected to a 240 volt hookup under the bonnet. Over here we have more 240 volt sockets coming from the hookup, and our solar PV charge controller. So up on the roof here, we've got a 150 watt flexible solar panel. That solar panel is just used to keep the 12 volt battery topped up. Got some roof bars up here at the moment. We take them off on long trips for improved aerodynamics, but they're useful at home here for carrying wood and bikes and stuff around. In our experience using the induction hob, cooking a full dinner and making coffee and boiling water for washing up, we'll use about 1.5 to 2 miles of range. So we'd easily be able to cook for weeks in the van. So we don't need to worry about draining our main battery by cooking.
We decided to go for a rock and roll bed, just to give us the option of being able to carry a couple of extra people, and fitted with seat belts and legally rated for carrying folk. So there's 2 levers under here, the 2 red ones. You push them together and then draw the bed forwards. It's easiest to stand outside the van and roll it out, but if it's wet weather and you want to be inside, it is possible just one person sits on the driver's seat and the other one's on the passenger seat. So it makes a really comfy small double bed. Width-wise, it is a standard width, the same as you would have in a VW T4. Just when it's in a seated position, because our wheel arches are slightly lower than a T4, we were able to have ours kind of customised and sit closer to the floor, which means we have more head space when it's upright. Yeah, that's really good. We had it made at JDS Metal Tech in Sheffield, so those guys are really good. So for nighttime mode, we've just hand done some blackout curtains. We got some magnets that came with some plastic already around, so I was able to sew them straight in. So they just stick to the wall, and they're really good. We can have the lights on inside and you can't see anything outside. With the same thing, we got a curtain and we just drag that across. Hey Bailey. There we go. So it's quite easy to make a nighttime den in the van. Oh yes. Though Bailey's place is usually keeping guard. He sleeps on the front passenger seat there, but But for now, you can be up here, Bailey.
So this is what the van looks like under the bonnet. There's no real heat generated under here, and there's plenty of space, so it's safe to store charging cables and things under here. So with the cables removed from the van, you can see clearly that we've got a standard 12 volt lead acid battery, just the same as any other van. That's what we use to power all the lights and everything in the back of the van. As I mentioned, it's charged from the DC to DC converter from the main battery that's under the floor. It's like having the van running continuously. And this red cable here is my feed, my thick cable that runs all the way to the back of the van. There's a little hole under there, under the driver's footwell, to power all the inverter and everything in the induction hob. This is our 240 volt hookup. So that's a standard commando 16 amp hookup socket that powers the sockets in the back of the van. So the fastest way to charge is using this CHAdeMO connector. This, when you turn up to the CHAdeMO rapid charger, they already have the cable attached to them, so no need to bring your own cable for this socket. So this cable comes with the van. This is an AC charging cable. This end here plugs into a EV charging station, and this end here plugs into this AC charge connector here, like so, like that, and that will charge the van in about 3 hours from an AC charging wall box. So this is the slowest way to charge the van from a standard domestic socket. This is a UK plug, but you can also get European Trico plugs. It may be the slowest, but it's also one of the more useful ways, because obviously there's domestic sockets available everywhere. It takes about 8 hours. The van actually comes with a cable to enable domestic socket charging, but I use an open EVSC charging station, which gives me a bit more flexibility to be able to choose what current I want to charge to. And also I've made up this setup here to give quite a lot of flexibility. So it's a 3-pin socket. Then I use these camping plugs to connect to the charging station. So this lets me disconnect that and then connect in other adapters I've made up for like European Trico plugs. And it also lets me use this Y splitter, which basically allows me to split the power to power both the sockets in the back of the van and charge the van at the same time. Shall I show you how that works? So you get the power coming in here from the 3-pin plug, which is there, goes into this splitter cable. So now I've got two power coming in. One of these I can plug into the hookup connection, and the other one here can go into the charging station. Usually all these cables are like underneath the bonnet, all tidy under there, but I've taken them out so I can try and show you. So now we're both powering the sockets in the van and we're charging the van. Just need to take a little bit of care not to exceed the rating of the domestic socket, which is 10 amps, or the rating of a hookup in the campsite, which is usually 16 amps, but I usually try and keep it below that to not cause any issues. And then we have some various extension cables and things. So that's basically our charging setup. So this all may look really overcomplicated, and that's because I've made it a bit overcomplicated, because I wanted to do things like have the hook up and charge the van at the same time and be able to adjust the charging rate. But basically you don't need to do any of this. You can just use the cable that comes with the van and that'll work just fine. And especially if you use a 12 volt 240 volt inverter, you don't actually need the hookup in the van. The 240 volt hookup, we put it in just because it was, gives another option. But you can just keep it simple, keep it dead simple, and just use the cables that comes with the van. The reason I use this open EVSC charging station, it allows me to connect to it via my phone from inside the van, and adjust the charging rate, and it says how many kilowatt hours we've used and everything. But I'm actually involved in the development and manufacture of these units through my company, Open Energy Monitor. So that's why this system is probably a bit more complicated than it used to be, but I'm interested in all this stuff.
So welcome to the back door. Compact, functional, but we do manage to fit a locked in. We've put hooks up, so this is often filled with Yeah, coats, waterproofs, fleeces. Instead of compartmentalising this too much, we've kind of left it open for most flexibility. Underneath, again, we usually kind of flat pack maybe climbing gear, pop shoes and bits down here. So in this cubby we have just keep some ramps in case we're not on level ground.
Yes, I mentioned earlier that we leave the van switched on so we can use the power from the main battery and run the heating the whole time, which is really great. But unfortunately this van has daylight running lights, which are a really good safety feature to have, but they're a bit annoying, the fact that they're on the whole time when you have the van on. So which means if we're parked up in a lay-by or a car park, you don't really want to be running your lights the whole night. When you're charging the van, they go off. So if you plug into a charge point, they're not going to be on. But if you just want to have the van switched on, but not, not plugged into anywhere, I had to find a way to turn these off. But luckily, it's quite simple. The easiest way is just to pull the relay out of the box there, which turns them off. But I actually wired a little switch in here, so I turn that to off. Off we go. What we've found is that this van is easily capable of going, 80, 90 miles an hour, no problem at all. It's got plenty of power. That's one nice thing about an electric van, is it's got lots of torque and acceleration to get you up to speed, and it's easily capable of maintaining a high top speed. So a small increase in speed has quite a high increase in aerodynamic drag. So we tend to cruise at around 55 miles an hour, which we've found gives the optimum speed versus, because if we travel faster we charge more, which is slower. So we found it to be faster overall, to take it easy with the speed.
Thanks for watching this video about our fully electric Nissan e-NV200 video with our conversion to a camper. And
if you'd like to find out more, we've done a full conversion video, full conversion blog post with lists of everything we've used and how we did everything on my website, Zero Carbon Adventures. I've also got a YouTube channel. Just search for Glyn Hudson or Glyn Hudson on Twitter. And big shout out to Nate for continuing to run his channel. Really enjoyed watching all the the house conversion videos and getting inspiration for converting this van for lots of other van videos. It's been great. Really looking forward to going on a climbing trip to Spain as soon as we're allowed to.
And for our past trips to Europe, if you're interested about driving an electric vehicle on trips further afield to, say, example Spain, check them out on the YouTube channel. Happy electric driving, folks.
All right, thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. Bye.